Welcome to the Housing Commission's December 7th, 2022 regular meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with Housing Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in the downtown conference room in accordance with public health guidelines for in-person meetings and participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. I will call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. And I'd like to introduce staff and housing commissioners present. So we have myself, Chair Lauren Bigelow, Commissioner Heather Leach, Commissioner Jacqueline Campos, who is there, Commissioner John Pimentel, and Adriana, yes, no? No. Who else is here? I see Aaron, but not seeing Aaron. Okay. Then from city staff, we have interim housing manager Aaron Romero and acting management analyst Ariana Milton and management analyst Adam Patterson. Aaron, would you please provide instructions to the Housing Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair Bigelow and members of the Housing Commission. Welcome everyone to the December 7 meeting of the Housing Commission, and thank you for attending. At this time, we ask that the virtual members of the Housing Commission please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage cameras and microphones to make presentations and respond to the members of the Housing Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature or via telephone by pressing *9 to raise your hand to speak. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Housing Commission. For those participating in person, please raise your hand and the chair will call upon you to provide your comment. That concludes the instructions and I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
If I can, it's a little bit hard to hear. If you could speak up and speak.
I'll come closer to that.
I don't know if other people are having that problem. No, you're not. You're good. Okay. It's just me then.
No, Aaron sounded a little far away from me as well. So I appreciate the note. Okay.
Oh, this setup is all new, so that's fine.
Yeah. And constructive criticism is always helpful. So, okay. So under public comment, the public may address the Housing Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Housing Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The Housing Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Housing Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Do we have any non-agenda public comment?
For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment on an item of tonight's agenda after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, for virtual participants, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from landline or cell phone, please press *9. For those in person, please complete a speaker card and bring to my desk. That concludes the instructions and return to the meeting to the chair. I don't believe there are any public speakers.
Okay, then we will move right along to regular business. Under regular business, the Housing Commission receives informational presentations in addition to considering policy matters and administrative actions. Are there any clarifying questions from the Housing Commission on item D1, which is approving minutes from the Housing Commission regular meeting on November 2nd, 2022, before taking public comment on the item? Okay. Seeing no clarifying questions necessary, then do we have any public comment on the last month's minutes?
For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature via telephone, press 9 and raise your hand to speak. I will then have the ability to open the microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Housing Commission. For those participating in person, please raise your hand and the chair will call upon you to provide any comment. I don't believe there are any comments from the public.
Okay, and I'm not seeing any from our Zoom attendees either. Great. So the item is open for Housing Commission discussion or motions, should you choose to make those.
Move to approve the minutes.
Do we
Second.
have? Thank you, Commissioners Pimentel and Leach. Appreciate it. Erin, can we do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Campos,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Aye.
Commissioner Merriman, I absent. Vice Chair Nguyen, Commissioner Pimentel,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker, absent. Chair Bigelow.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Lovely. Thank you guys for that. Okay, so we can move on to the bulk, I think, of our discussion for this evening, which is to review and recommend to City Council approval of the Housing Commission Work Plan for 2022-2023. Ariana will introduce the item and I will lead the discussion after the introduction.
Great, thank you, Chair Bigelow. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ariana, and I'm the Acting Management Analyst for the Housing Department. The second item on the agenda tonight is marked as D2, and it is to review and recommend to City Council approval of the Housing Commission Work Plan for 2022 to 2023. This is a continuation of the discussion that was had at last month's November Housing Commission meeting. The goal for tonight is to review the attached draft work plan and recommend it for approval by the City Council. The plan which you will be reviewing tonight has been updated per the last Housing Commission meeting discussion. And with that, I will return the meeting back to Chair Bigelow.
Thank you for that, Ariana. Okay. Are there any clarifying questions from the Housing Commission before we go to public comment? Commissioner Leach, I see you.
Hi there. So I was not able to be present at the last meeting. And so I was watching the YouTube video. I also worked on the work plan. And I think based on the substance of the meeting, the housing plan, the work plan has been pared down quite a bit. Is that correct? Okay. And that's a lot of things kind of shelved based on the availability of staff and realistically what we could get done in the next year. Okay, that was my clarifying question.
It's a good one, and it was a topic of a lot of conversation. So if you feel otherwise, please feel free to say so after we take public comment. But I appreciate the clarifying question. Okay, does anyone else have any other clarifying questions before we go to public comment? Hearing/seeing none. Erin, let's go to public comment, if there are any.
Okay. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, please engage the raise hand feature. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you could provide your public comment to the Housing Commission. For those participating in person, please raise your hand and the chair will call upon you to provide your comment. I don't see anybody in the comment, the public. Two?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give them one?
Yes. Give me a second, let's take one.
Hello, good evening, Chair, Commissioners, members of the public, staff, fellow neighbors. My name is Jenny Michelle from the Coleman Place Neighborhood Block, living on Willow Road across the street from the VA hospital for almost 15 years, a former recovering homeless teacher, a parent of an IEP student at Laurel Elementary, and a commercial property manager by trade. In other words, I feel comfortable on the streets and engaging in our housing and secure neighbors. I wanted to comment on item D2 and I get it, we're strapped for resources, but I think that's kind of the whole point. So I wanted to add to the scope. And that is, so one idea would be to, similar to item number 1, run a campaign with local real estate brokerages to better understand how they disclose current state housing laws to their clients and directly tie that into how those laws affect the client's asset valuation and opportunities for highest and best use. What are brokerages doing to promote our collective municipal and regional housing needs? Hashtag SB4 baby on the horizon. We'll have God in our backyard. How are our fiduciary agents performing these critical disclosure obligations, even with giving us insight into what's on the horizon? I say require timeline and deliverable deadlines for compliance and have that be a part of revised housing element, right? Another idea, focus on the functional zero homelessness goals that San Mateo County has taken on, wholly separate from the obligations of the state, although they complement one another. Coordination, collaboration between the agencies, the county, all their related affiliates, the program operators, the city itself, down to the residents, you and me, and our currently unhoused neighbors. That could be a 4-person full-time job, right? Another idea, focus on what's working in other cities like Redwood City, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Emeryville, Houston, and Paris. These last 2 examples being representing the scale that we're facing as a municipality. Included here can be nestled in the Pacific Housing for All community meeting dated November 10th, 2022 on the YouTube channel Pacific Coast TV. Again, the Pacific Housing for All community meeting. Mr. Levine gives us the specs we need to achieve a compliance to keep our permit authority in our municipality. Ideally, we're addressing the 3 Ps: protection from displacement, preservation of affordable existing housing, especially low income, and protection of housing at all levels. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Karen Grove. If you can give her.
Good evening, Karen Grove, resident of Menlo Park. And I have a question that I hope one of you will ask. On the parking lots work plan, it says site inventory complete, available to the public. And I think it would be super helpful to explain what exactly that means and what goes into it. It's such a long time. I mean, this item in the housing element is such a long timeline. The revisions to the housing element have a specific timeline. And it just would be very illuminating to understand all the steps, to understand when it's such a long timeline, it's helpful to understand the steps so that we can keep pace and at least have it not grow beyond what it is. So anything we can learn about the process would also be helpful. And it's not exactly here, but I really did like the idea of sort of bringing in some idea people, some inspiration, some designers and visionaries to share with us what might be possible, even as we're doing all of the methodical steps that have to be done. So thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to our public commenters. I appreciate both of you being here, and this item is now open for Housing Commission discussion. Don't all jump in at once. All right, Commissioner Leach.
So I was wondering about, there was a lot of ideas bandied about at the last session that I wasn't in, and I thought it was all really interesting discussion about different ways that we could spur some involvement or get a better idea of how we can come up with recommendations that could grow legs and come to fruition. So based on that, with the new work plan, we have a pared down version where we're talking about potential RFPs. Is that that's one of the things we're talking about here. So let's see, I'm going to tell you where I see it. Include potential. Anyway, so are we, there was a lot of talk the last meeting that I was not in on about changing some of our role. Do we want to become, do we want to be just really advocating more? Do more community meetings, advocate for community involvement? And I see that reflected in the housing plan. Is that correct? So
yes, I think that there was a lot of interest in partnering with our tenants more closely, and also making sure that they're aware of their rights and the resources that exist in the community. And that was kind of our short-term goal, was to really focus on some of that community engagement piece. And then there was also the longer-term big swing of city-owned lands and what we could do with those, in addition to the things that were already happening with the housing element, and kind of partnering with that. But the truth is that we have 6 months to accomplish these things. And we also have very many wonderful people who are helping us with their staff time, but not necessarily a glut of capacity on staff's part. Erin, do you feel like that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, that is right. Right now, we don't have capacity to take on more. We are very limited in staff. So I think these two goals are realistic for the time being.
And
Yeah.
temporary.
no, I like the idea of doing the outreach, and I like I'm sorry, I think I'm freezing a lot.
We can still hear you, but you froze visually for a second. It's
I'm
okay.
going to really be careful how I move so I don't freeze in a really dorky position. So I like the idea of the pared down goals, and then coming up with some things that has more to do with public outreach. And I hear public outreach to the community, so they know, like particularly at-risk communities. I also like the idea of outreach to more affluent communities to kind of explain what we mean by affordable housing. And I had no idea what the breakdown of income was. I'm assuming a lot of other people don't. I think a lot of people that call in probably do, but so anyway, that's all.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. We see that a few people come and interact with us when they need to, and a few people come and speak when they can. But that is not necessarily a representative sample of the entirety of Menlo Park. And so what we have been doing has not been working. And therefore shifts need to happen.
And we had talked, John, I think you had brought up potentially having, just kind of throwing out ideas, potentially in the spirit of public engagement, having some of our meetings in a, like in Bellhaven and other parts of the city, so that we can invite people in to have more dialogue with us. And I think that's sounds like a good idea too. That might be a way of killing two birds with one stone.
I think it would be great. Yeah. And it looks like it, that at least there's interest there. John, I saw you come off mute. Or did I lie?
I was just giving a thumbs up to the idea.
Okay. Appreciate it. Nevada, I saw you too. Did you have further thought there, or were you just saying thumbs up?
Well, when we've done it in the past, it's been great. I think it's important to try to do that as much as possible.
Beautiful. I bow to your greater tenure on the Housing Commission. I had not experienced that before, so I'm really happy to hear that it's been deeply impactful. Jackie, how you feeling?
I think it's a great idea. I actually volunteered over the weekend with Bellhaven Action, and they hosted a workshop where they were sharing resources with the community, and we were helping them sign up for BMR housing, which was really great. There was about 30 people, maybe more. And I think it would be really great if we can partner with them or do something similar, because there was a lot of interest. It was a lot of the Spanish speaking community, so we would need, some multilingual people to support, but I think it's a great idea. But I think it would be important to find a space. I'm not sure when the Onetta Harris Center will be open, but we were at the library and we weren't too well received, I would say, which was kind of unfortunate, but we made it work.
Well, I think that 30 people is an incredible turnout. And so you should be really proud. And I'm so happy to hear that there were Spanish speakers there. In previous work plans, we tried really hard. We put it on the work plan to have more community outreach to the monolingual communities. And so if we could partner with Bellhaven Action, and that gives us greater access to folks who are more comfortable in Spanish, I think that's fantastic. Okay. So how are we feeling about the direction that this is going in? Do folks feel like they support what is occurring? Are there additions, specifications that need to happen to take this forward to City Council? Where are people at?
I think it sounds like a great idea. I mean, I think even without the dearth of staff resources, I think it's a good direction to be going in, doing more outreach. I think that I know, having been on the Housing Commission for I think about a year now, when I first came on, there's just an avalanche of terminology and acronyms, and so I think it's a good idea, and I think it's I like the idea of doing the RFPs. I like the idea of talking to real estate the mortgage people, and I just think it's a good idea to bring some, like, we can come up with our ideas, but it's a good idea to bring some real life people in to kind of like boots on the ground professionals to see how do we move this forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Okay. Do we have motions then?
I'll move to approve the work plan as written up by staff.
I
Great.
second.
Thank you both. Erin, can we do a roll call vote then?
Commissioner Campos,
Aye.
Commissioner Leach,
Aye.
Commissioner Merriman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gwen, absent, Commissioner Pimentel,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker, and she's absent, Chair Bigelow.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Okay, so that's the work plan. Next up is money. And so item D3 is the recommendation to release the below market rate housing fund, notice of funding availability, or NOFA. Ariana will introduce this item as well.
Okay, thank you, Chair Bigelow. The third item on the agenda tonight, marked as D3, is to recommend to release the below market rate housing fund notice of funding availability, otherwise known as NOFA. This includes the attached 2022 draft NOFA and the corresponding application. The goal of the NOFA is to support and prioritize the preservation and production of affordable housing, and is designed to create a competitive process supporting affordable housing developments that are most likely to be successful in addressing the city's affordable housing needs and to benefit the community. No changes have been made to this 2022 NOFA. And with that, I will return the meeting back to Chair Bigelow.
Okay, so given that information, thank you, Ariana. Are there any clarifying questions from the Housing Commission before we take public comment about the NOFA? Seeing none, I think that we can move right on to public comment on the item.
For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, please engage the raise hand feature. We'll then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Housing Commission. For those participating in person, please raise your hand and the chair will call upon you to provide your comment. I don't see any raised hands.
And I am not seeing any from our Zoom attendees at this time. So just give another extra second in case anybody else wants to chime in. But it looks like hearing none, we can't, and slash seeing none, we can move on to the Housing Commission discussion of the notice of funding availability, or NOFA. Commissioner Pimentel.
I just had one question, and I'll defer to Nevada or staff who have more experience with this. Is $1.5 million to $2 million sufficient to be material enough to do anything? I think the last time we did this, we had $12 or $13 million that we put out in the NOFA. And so I guess I'm just asking, are we going through the exercise because there's some money in the till, or is this an appropriate amount to go through the process and see what kind of proposals might come in?
Great question.
We do have between 1.5 to 2 million, and there was, I believe, a request on the last NOFA for 1.2 for preservation. So I think even if it's the same agency asking for more, or other agencies that, you know, provide loans to first-time home buyers, that I think that's sufficient money to provide.
I think that your point about scale of impact is a good one, though. I think that it does speak to preservation more than actual development of new housing, unfortunately. Okay, so All right. Does anyone else have any other questions, thoughts on the NOFA process, on the timeline? It looks like we would be publishing Tuesday, December 20th. If we get approval from the Housing Commission tonight. And that would run until Friday, January 27th. With city council approvals and presentations in the spring of 2023. Okay, so Commissioner Leach. Oh, yes, Commissioner Leach, then Commissioner Merriman.
So just to follow up, because I'm new to this, and I'm assuming maybe some other people that are attending or will be watching this later on. So sometimes there is a release of funding that has to do with building new developments, and sometimes there's a release of funding that has to do with maintenance. Is that what we're talking about when we're talking about preservation? Like maintaining or doing repairs, or explain preservation to me.
So the eligible projects for this NOFA could be preservation of affordable housing. So in this case, if a nonprofit provides funding for rehabilitating your home or small repairs, that will qualify. I know that in the past we had $10 million, and that, you know, a large amount that provides affordable housing, provides that gap for affordability and larger projects to contribute more housing. But since we don't have a lot, we make it available for other projects that can provide homebuyer programs, accessory dwelling unit loan programs, so rehabilitation. So I think what we have available could help in that way.
Thank you.
And just to highlight this portion on attachment A for the staff report, on the background, it says eligible projects include the preservation of existing affordable housing and the acquisition or new construction of permanent affordable rental or ownership housing for extremely low, very low, and low income households. So it's whether we are keeping units at lower price points so that they can serve people with lower incomes, or if we are constructing new units, or a developer is acquiring units that could be affordable housing. Those kind of all move in that direction and are covered by this process. Nevada, does that make sense? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I have a separate question just about the NOFA itself.
Okay.
There are a few component pieces, some questions on the NOFA itself that I think are, you know, just worthy of potential revision or rethinking. I can see at least two anyway, but give me a little bit of pause. So I'm wondering, balancing our desire to get this out and get applications in with also, like, what does this Housing Commission want to prioritize through the NOFA itself? Wondering if there's room for that conversation in today's meeting.
That's fair. Other commissioners, actually, staff, I really quickly want to do a time check. Is there a timeline that we need to submit this by to be in compliance with all of the things that we need to be in compliance?
We're supposed to be releasing it every 2 years, and the last time I think it was released in November of 2020. So I just want to make sure that we we do meet that 2-year requirement, so.
Well, I mean, they can be brief, but I see, for instance, there's a question that says, what is your 9% score if applicable? So the 9% is a competitive program, and it is not in your competitive best interest to get that score here. Then other cities would know the score that they need to beat in order for their project to win. It's a limited amount of the resource. So I think there's strategic reasons not to ask for that in your NOFA.
Okay,
And there are ways that you can manage that at the staff level to get that information without making it be part of public record. So that would be one area of input that I'd have for you. And if you have the ability to look into that and do what you want with that information, but my strong recommendation is that that is not the strategic question to include in your conversation in the NOFA itself. And then I don't know if there's a possibility of adding a question to the NOFA, but certainly the county has a policy in which they do not want to use Measure K funding for their affordable housing to supplant what is considered an obligation of another developer to provide the units. So in your city, BMR embedded in that is a desire when you have certain types of projects to have those projects potentially have a set aside of their market rate units. And it's for the city to decide whether or not they want to offset that obligation from another developer with their own funds, or if you'd like to use your fund to do something else. I'm not going to weigh in as to what I think is the right policy, other than to say that the county's very clear that their funds won't be prioritized to offset another developer's obligation. So we may want to ask a question in the event that we have more applications in to understand, like, where is the benefit? Where's our public benefit? Where will the money for this city be used most effectively in terms of creation of new units? If the obligation is already there to create a new unit, adding money to those to offset the subsidy there, is that what we want to be doing? I think it's relevant based on probably the projects that you'll see come through in the pipeline.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think both of your points are valid, because we don't want to we want to incentivize development. And so having developers disclose things that they don't want to would make that unattractive, I think, particularly if that were part of the public record. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts. As well. Do people want to make the amendments that Nevada was talking about? Are we just interested in moving forward with what staff has recommended doing?
I think I would bow to Nevada's experience with this in this area. And if you feel like having those, adding the question and having the one question removed will increase our attractiveness to developers who will actually come in and build some of these projects or work on some of these projects, I think that's a good idea.
So Commissioner Merriman, if you were looking to describe what those questions would you like to craft a motion that someone can second is what I'm asking.
I wish I had looked up the county's specific policy language, but it is in their policy language for Measure K that they will not use the funds to help a market rate developer meet their inclusionary obligation. So you could ask the question about, is this an inclusionary housing or BMR obligation? And you need to have some kind of scoring offset in order to make that question meaningful when it comes time to rank your criteria of various proposals. So I would move to eliminate the question about the 9% scoring and to add a question about the nature of the units that are being produced, if they are a inclusionary obligation. Number of units, there's already a number of units requested, right? You can add that. And
So the motion is to remove the question about what was, can you repeat that, Nevada?
No, let me just get my eyes on it once more. Pardon me.
Well, I think that we could support staff's motion with the subtraction of the 9% question and the addition of the inclusionary obligation, or have staff reference the county's language regarding inclusionary obligations.
Is that clear to you? Madam Secretary? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds. So that's a motion. We have a motion. The motion is to remove the question about the 9% and add that the staff add a question about their inclusionary housing policy.
They're
Yes,
in,
here in income categories to add, if I were going to propose something specific, I would add a column to say, the number of those units that are being requested that are also meeting their inclusionary obligations. Okay. So potentially they might, this is just a example, but say your inclusionary obligation was 10, but you wanted to provide 15. Maybe you would be asking for the city subsidy on the 5, and you'd be deepening, going beyond what is required. And that, to me, is a strong case for receiving additional funds to do more than what the obligation is. But something that breaks down kind of what is the obligation and what is this proposal asking for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your expertise.
yeah, no kidding. I'd like to go on the public record and say Nevada's expertise is ridiculous.
Very lucky to have Nevada.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to second the motion, but I want to be clear that we have we don't need to really we don't need to drill down on the language right now, but we can have something, say a motion saying that the staff removes the question about the 9% and adds a question about inclusionary
Obligations, yes.
obligations. Okay.
Aaron, are you comfortable with that motion?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and so we have a second. So can we go to a roll call vote then?
Commissioner Campos,
Aye.
Commissioner Leach,
Aye.
Commissioner Merriman,
Aye.
Vice Chair 1, absent. Commissioner Pimentel,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker, absent. Chair Bigelow,
Aye.
the motion passes.
Lovely. Okay. Way to bang out $1.5 million and an entire 6 months of work plan in like 45 minutes, guys. All right, so
That's demonstrating the the ruthless efficiency of our president and chairperson. Thank you. Lauren.
yes, I'm often called ruthless. Okay, so with that, we can conclude regular business and move on to informational items. And I asked Aaron to include the 2023 Housing Commission meeting calendar because I think that you guys probably get tired of me asking who can attend meetings and not, so that we have a quorum. So if folks could take a look at the meeting calendar and let us know if there are any difficulties. I was particularly looking for the next 3 months or the next 6 months. Aaron, does that sound like a worthwhile investment of our time?
If you just want to take a look at it at your leisure, like the first meeting in January has been canceled for the first Wednesday. because we have a joint meeting with the planning commission on the 12th. February is the first Wednesday and that there are no holidays. March, first Wednesday of the month. The only month that we will probably need to poll on is April because there are some holidays on the Wednesday. So we'll probably need to reach out to come up with a better date for April. But yeah, looking to at least the first 6 months to see if there's a conflict. Please let us know.
Okay, and the January 12th meeting is with the Planning Commission to talk about the housing element again. So that's why we canceled, because 2 meetings in 2 weeks at the beginning of the year might be a lot, maybe. Okay, so does anybody have any problems with the first 3 months? It seemed pretty clear those dates were set in stone. April, I know we have issues around, but we can probably move some dates. Are folks able to be present? I'm seeing yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Okay, so we at least have quorum for the next 3 months, barring whatever things, and life happens, we get it. Just let people know. And okay, so that I think is our informational item. Unless you have anything else to add, Erin, about the calendar. Nope.
Thank you very much for making the last meeting of the year.
Yes.
But,
Absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, last but not least, reports and announcements, agenda item F1. Do we have any individual commissioner updates about anything?
I would like to let everyone know about the community health fair that Belhaven Action is putting on this Sunday at Belhaven Elementary School from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be live music and food, and it'll just be a really great community event. If anyone wants to join, I'll be there volunteering, and I'd be happy to see any of you there and meet you all in person.
And tell me,
Can you send that around, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I'll send it over to Erin, and she can send it over to you.
perfect, perfect. Wonderful, and thank you for that heads up. Okay, any other commissioner updates? Seeing none. Okay. Do we have any recommendation of future agenda items to take on in February? No. I see this look on your face, John, like you want to say parking lots, and and I
It will come.
I respect it. Okay. All right, so then we have staff updates and announcements. Erin, you have anything for us tonight?
I do just, I know you probably know, the staff released the housing element working draft. It is available on the city's website. Council will have a continued study session sometime this month. Willow Village was approved last night, so that's exciting. Next Monday at Planning Commission, the draft EIR public hearing for 123 Independence. It's a residential project. So those are the 3 items that I wanted to mention. And Adam, did you have a?
Yeah, management, I know is Adam Patterson. For all of your sake, but I think maybe John in particular, I think your RFP questions and parking lot questions, that January meeting, that joint meeting is the place to have those ready for, I think. So you'll have your moment then and be ready for that.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much. Okay, well then, with that, I think that I will say happy holidays to all of you, whichever holidays you celebrate. Thank you for being here and for a productive year. I look forward to what we can accomplish in the next 6 months. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:20.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.